Welcome back, everyone. It is Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, guys. That's not a good start, is it? Welcome back, everyone. Patriots around the world. We are live. And it's a warm welcome back to John Hannam. I mean, mate, you're back by popular demand.
Thank you very much, Paul. Nice to hear that. I normally don't attract new viewerships or new people, so it's good to hear that people like me.
So, John, good evening. And it's one of my regular guests, Momus Najmi. Momus, good evening. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. That was a really good intro song, by the way. It's like leading up to the live stream. I was enjoying that.
It's not bad. I was enjoying that. It kind of gets you in the mood. Now, there's a space missing underneath me there, but what that's for tonight is that's for the chat. So I want to try and involve everyone as much as we possibly can. And later on, if we got time, I might even invite a few guests on tonight. We'll see how it goes. Now, look, the big topic of the evening is going to be that amazing video from Rafe Heydel-Mankoo, a man I respect immensely, part of the New Culture Forum, friends with the late, great Peter, who I met once. I was fortunate enough to meet him once, and, what a guy he was. He actually produced what I classed on my stream before as the best ever video that I've seen in this space. But Rafe come up with a video yesterday that I think runs it a close second. So we're going to be watching that together a little bit later on. But before we do, just quick breaking news here. The headlines on the Daily Mail, just before we go live, was Trump sends in the Marines. Trump is set to deploy 5,000 Marines into Hormuz tinderbox as boots on the ground fears grow. Momus, any thoughts on that? Do you think that we're gonna see boots on the ground in Iran?
I don't think it's a good idea personally. Like they should have learned the lessons from Iraq and everywhere else. Like I think it's a good idea to bring down the Iran's regime, but I think so. But it's up to America. I don't think so. We should get involved with that. Boots on the ground is not a good idea. I think so. They need to solve the issues from within. You give them the help that they need, which has been helped, like keep on bombing the places, whatever, take down the regime, weaken the regime. But from internally, they have to rise up. Boots on the ground, I don't think so. It's a good idea.
The thing is, John, the IRGC, I mean, I don't know how big the Iranian army is, but from memory, it's absolutely huge, the Iranian army. So that would take an internal coup of some substantial efforts, wouldn't it, to get rid of the regime from within?
I think I read that the IRGC alone, I think, is about 190,000 people. I think the rest of the army is close to 1 million. So it's a massive military force. My suspicion is that the Americans and the Israelis probably went into this thinking that Iran would roll over a little bit more quickly than they have, or that the people would rise up more easily than they have. And where are we now? We're 2.5 weeks in. And it's ongoing, and they haven't completely collapsed. And so the next logical step, I suppose, is men on the ground. But as Momus says, I'm not so sure that that's the greatest idea. I think the better idea is to find a way to encourage the people themselves to overthrow the regime. But how do you do that? It's not like they've got military might. It's not like they've got weapons themselves. And when you're facing an immense force like that, what do you do? It's suicide if you ask them to go and fight. So it's a really tricky situation, because we all want to see that regime overthrown. We all want to see democracy restored. But how do you do that without a proper full-out war?
Yeah,
and it's not just the internal regime, internal troops as well, which Iran has. They have proxy ones as well in Hezbollah, and in Pakistan and Afghanistan, they have all those people who are going. I mean, it's better to let them implode, to be honest. As weird as that might sound, because they're running out of money, they can't keep on paying their goons forever. So, boots on the ground, it's just 5,000 is going to become like this, going to become a cycle of like 10 years again, making the same mistake. So
I think the concern is for the Iranian people. I mean, when we talk, I think you're right, guys. I think that the hope was that the Iranian people would overthrow the regime from within. But the problem is, I mean, if we come back home for a moment, and it's a rather silly analogy, but it's an analogy, however you want to take it. people talk about overthrowing this Labour government, but you can't. Even if you go out on the streets, you get arrested for protesting. Well, in Iran, they don't just arrest you; they shoot you.
Yeah.
So it's not as easy as just going out there and overthrowing the regime. I mean, if they've got 500,000 men that are going to be loyal to that regime, or at least even if they're not loyal to it, they're scared of being executed for desertion. It's going to be now. I was playing John Kennedy yesterday, who said that he didn't believe that there will be boots on the ground, and I said that's the only thing that he said during that interview that I actually disagree with. I've got a funny feeling that we may well see American troops going into Iran, because I don't see how they can overthrow them. I don't see how they can get rid of them.
We also have to be like a bit less emotional as well, like, because a lot of people get emotional with this, right? Like about Iran and stuff like that. I mean, ultimately, they have to resolve their own issues, to be honest. And if America is doing it, they're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. There's nothing these bigger countries do out of the goodness of their heart, right? They have something to gain, so they are doing it. So we should not get caught up in what their benefits are going to be from this, right? Like, I mean, we are not getting any good oil deals from there. America is going to get it, or whatever the other benefits of controlling the area would be for them. So, I mean, if they're doing it, it's because they have a benefit that outweighs the cost that is going to cost them. So, in a way, we have to be careful, but at the same time, we don't have to antagonize America as well. Like, they are our partners. So, if they want to use our bases or stuff, let them use it, right? Like, you have to be a bit pragmatic about it and not be ideologically captured, I think. So, on either side, or either on the right side or on the left side, like, oh, we're doing it for these emotional reasons. No, what is the interest of Britain in this, right? For me, the interest of the Britain is, let's take care of the terrorist cells within Britain that were before sponsored by Iran, because they will have lost the connection. They would have lost the cash flow. Those terrorist cells are going to activate. Let's use this opportunity to fix things inside, and let the Iranians figure out what they want to do themselves. If they don't want a revolution, so that's up to them.
Do you think now's the time to flush them out, Momus?
Yeah, definitely, because they are going to get more, they're going to get more frustrated. A lot of them are going to disperse as well, right? Like, because not a lot of them are that ideologically religious. They were there for the money, right? So when the money dries up, a lot of those people within those terrorist cells are going to disperse. But the most ideologically, strong ones, religiously strong ones, they are going to, get agitated. They are going to do attacks, right? So we have to be careful as well as flush them out. They are going to out themselves more. Use the opportunity to clean house, I think so.
Yeah, John, do you think that puts us in bigger danger?
I think the problem is, I don't think there's any sign that our entire state is willing to do that. And I'll give you two examples. The news broke, I think, yesterday or the day before, that on February the 12th, I think it was, lots of our officials from the Foreign Office and Home Office went to an event at the Iranian embassy to celebrate and commemorate the revolution in 1979. Now, that was at a time when they'd already killed tens of thousands of their own people. Our state apparatus, our Foreign Office, parts of our government are going along and shaking hands and putting arms around shoulders and having drinks and eating and drinking with the very people that are slaughtering their own people. And I'll give you another example as well. My football team, Roman Abramovich, bought Chelsea Football Club many years ago. And then when we fell out with Russia, when the Ukraine war started, we were really, really quick to completely sanction anyone to do with Russia. We forced him to sell the club. We sanctioned all of his accounts. We sanctioned anyone of a Russian nationality's accounts in this country. Yet it's come out again that I think one of the sons of Khomeini owns 11 properties on Bishop's Avenue in Hampstead. And we haven't sanctioned them. We haven't prescribed the IRGC. So our state could do so much more, but we show absolutely no sign of being willing to take the steps that we need to take. And that's really positive. And I think that's why the Americans are so fed up with us as well, because it's all very well not joining in the military effort, but we're not even doing the efforts around administration or finance or sanctioning people at all. We're just not doing it.
I mean, it's very well put, actually. I think so. We are not, Britain is not getting involved into this war for the wrong reasons. right? Yeah. They're not doing it because they are in cahoots with the Islamists, and that's the problem. Like it's very good actually, because I was saying like what should happen, but John has said like what is actually happening, right? Like what should happen is not going to happen because of our government, and it's not just the Labour Party, by the way, it's the Conservatives as well. Have you seen the recent video of Cameron?
How he was from 2009. I saw that.
Exactly, like he was saying like how he wants to change all the elites and put in Muslims in charge and stuff like that, and it's all of them. They're all in cahoots, from the monarch to the last bit, right, and to the Reform Party these days as well. It's very scary times that they could actually get rid of these or flush these terrorists out, but they're not willing to do so. Yeah, and they're not siding with America because of the wrong reasons, not because of the British reasons, not because of what's in the British interest, but what is in the interest of their Muslim votes.
Yeah. See, I'm kind of in the middle, when I've often said in the past, I don't want to see British soldiers dying for anyone else other than Britain, right? I don't even want to see them dying for Britain, but you get what I mean, right? I don't want to see our boys and girls fighting anyone else's battle. But on this occasion, I mean, when you look at the way Iran has sponsored terrorism for years now, more, half a century, it must be now, right? I mean, when was the Shah overthrown? Was it 79?
79.
Yeah.
79. So it's many, many years now. This one is about as good as it gets as far as the cause is concerned, but people have got, long memories when it comes to what happened in Iraq, etc., Afghanistan. John, where's your line here with the help that we offer America? Should there be a line? Should we just give the Americans whatever they want, or do you have a line? What's your own personal view?
You've always got to have a line. I mean, listen, we all want to help. If you bring it back to your own personal life, when you've got a mate and your mate's in trouble, you want to help them out. But there's a point at which you look at them and go, well, actually, mate, what you're doing there is probably not quite the right thing. So I'll give you my backing, but only up to a certain point. So I don't think British troops should be involved in this. I don't want to see our troops being put in danger, getting killed for this. I don't really want to see American troops doing that either. But at the same time, I do think we should have been much more forthcoming in allowing use of our airfields, use of our bases, use of Diego Garcia, use of Cyprus. And we should have been prepared. I mean, the fact that it took us 10 days to clean the toilets in our warship before we could send it off to Cyprus was frankly so embarrassing. And I think that's part of the problem. I don't think we're owning up about how degraded our military is. I mean, our special forces, SAS, SBS, the Marines, the Paras, etc., are probably still very capable of holding their own. But from an equipment point of view, from a ships, from a planes, from a tanks point of view, we just can't hack it anymore. We're done. And I think that's part of the problem. I think that's probably why we're holding back, because we know we'd probably last about 2 weeks.
Momus?
I think so. Like, we can't even solve the problems of the 40,000 or plus terrorists on our watch list, right? Like, our elites are scared of them. Our establishment is scared of them. That's why they keep on appeasing the bloody Muslims all the time with anything that happens, right? And we are talking about going into Iran and fixing their problems, when you are not going to stop the terrorist cells by attacking Iran or putting boots on the ground. It's a snake with many heads. It's not just gonna go away because you kill Khomeini or you kill one person or you kill Osama bin Laden or kill all of that. The only way that we can actually deal with this is by exclusion of that ideology from within our borders, and for them to solve this in their own lands. So as far as the help that we should give Iran, because it helps us in the long run anyways, should have been just attacking their regime, making them like discoordinating them, stopping their boats, stopping the oil from then selling the oil to China so that they don't get any weapons, because most of the weapons they've got are from China in exchange for oil, and China has actually sold them duds as well, which is very funny. But stopping all of those things, all of that flow, right? And then let the people in there deal with it, because we have also to remember there are many different ethnic conflicts within Iran. There's the Kurds who are going to come in and who are the most organized militarily, right? And then there's the Iranians themselves, and there's the Persians because it's a different ethnicity. There's people who are the communist people within Iran who are trying to make a comeback. Reza Pahlavi, whatever his name is, I keep forgetting. He doesn't have any people inside. He can't coordinate. There's a lot of people who have support of him, so there's nobody inside to coordinate that. But they have to figure it out. We can't be going on and fighting other people's battles. There's other areas in the world that have issues. Should we go and start doing that? It's not our responsibility when we can't even protect our children, when we can't even protect our girls for past 40 years being groomed by these Pakistanis, when we can't even control our own borders over here from these illegals coming over here. Why are we even talking about Iran, right? Why are we even talking about Ukraine? Why are we talking about those things before fixing the problems over here? Right? Like, it's sort of like, I don't have any money in my bank, but I'm going in overdraft to give money to other people. That's stupid.
Absolutely. Just sorry, John. Go on, carry on.
No, I was going to say there is a wider argument. I read or watched a video or read an article the other day which says that they believe that this is really sort of 4D global geopolitical chess. And if you go back a few months, America took out Venezuela, and Venezuela is the most oil-rich country on the planet, far more even than Saudi and those countries. And America effectively now has control of the Venezuelan oil supply. And Venezuela sort of was secretly one of the biggest suppliers to China and other countries of oil. So the Yanks have taken them out, and now the next biggest supplier again to China and to Russia of weapons, of drones, of oil, etc., is Iran. And so what this article was arguing was actually the reason, yes, they'd quite like to change the regime, but actually the bigger reason that they keep it secret is that it's geopolitically, it damages Russia, it damages China, and it cuts off a lot of their supply, and that's the reason they've done it, and that they're just pretending it's about Iran being a horrific regime.
More power to them, more power to America to do this, because I'd rather have America as a global superpower than China or Russia. But then again, more power to them. That's their game to play. We are in no position to even play 2D chess over here, so we can't even play 4D chess with them, right? We have to understand what we're doing, who are we right now and where we want to go. It might be there's a great past over there, but Britain is not that at the moment. We have a lot of issues to fix in-house. We can be sympathetic. We can think about international relations. In contrast to international relations, yes, we would like to take down this regime. Yes, we would like to get rid of Hezbollah. Yes, we would like, but we can't do it personally, right? Even Saudi Arabia is not personally attacking those countries right now. Pakistan is not personally attacking if they need to sort out their region, they need to do it. America is doing it for its own personal gains and to secure its superpower, which is important for us as well, because America has to remain the big dog, right? Because in the West, there's nobody else, right, apart from America. They need to do this. So all the power to them, but let's fix our problems, I would say.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think that this was instigated by the USA, or do you think it was instigated by Israel? Who do you think the driving force behind it is?
I think so. I personally think so. I would understand if Israel is on this case all the time, because they have an existential threat, right? And that's in their best interest. Good on them for keep on doing that, right? But America, I don't think so. America would get involved just because Israel wants it to get involved, right? I think so. America would have a lot to gain, and he would be like, okay, so we have a partner right now who is very willing to help us, and Israel is their boots sort of on the ground, their local intelligence and stuff. So let's take advantage of it. And they also waited. They waited for a very good point when Afghanistan and Pakistan started fighting, right? The next day they started attacking Iran, right? So they were waiting for Pakistan and Afghanistan to be a bit busy as well, so that, because there's a lot of this 60 or so million Shias in Pakistan who are really religiously motivated, who are more Shia than the people in Iran, who support the Khomeini more than the people in Iran. Those 60 or so million, they would like want to help as well. So it is like, I think so. It's America playing their game, and they rather people think that it's Israel, like, driving them, because they have to also sort of garner or maintain their America first support as well. Because if they put their boots on the ground, Trump will lose a lot of support, and he should be very careful in doing that.
Yeah, I think it's a 50-50 mix, to be quite honest. I mean, as Momus has said, obviously there's something in it for America, but at the same time, when you look at the distinct possibility of Iran developing a nuclear weapon, I mean, that is some threat. And and Israel obviously would be first in their sights, wouldn't they? Charlie, thank you very much. Hey, Paul, big love, brother. Get Starmer out now. Linford, thank you. Boots on the ground, Paul. The Islamists will be defeated 100%. Mega, long live Trump. Regards, Linford. Thank you very much, Linford. Appreciate that, mate. Should we get into our video that I want to play tonight? Rafe Heydel-Mankoo, great man, friends of the late great Peter Whittle, New Culture Forum, released a video yesterday that was really, really hard hitting. I felt every now and again a video comes along and you think, wow, he's really, really nailed it there. And this video was one of them. Now, it is 9 minutes long, but we don't need to play it all. And what I'm going to ask the guys to do is, if they want to sort of interject at any time, just put your hand up and then I'll pause the video and you guys can come in and make your comments on that. Let me just get this 1 second. Sharp Bite, thank you. Iran needs the regime changed. If they don't, the Americans will have to strike Iran every few years. Boots on the ground will be a shit show. I have a feeling, it's just my gut feeling, that if America do put boots on the ground, that would give the Iranians the courage and the potential possibility of being able to come out themselves. But we'll see. We'll see.
It could backfire a lot as well.
It could backfire. It could. Yeah. It could backfire. Right, let's get into this video. Rafe Heydel-Mankoo. I'm going to just remove the chat off the screen whilst we play this.
Party must now be recognized as a deeply sinister and dangerous organization, a party which takes the side of any foreign minority or nation except its own. The Labour Party despises Britain, its culture, its history, and its people. What the party has now done is to embed the primacy of its Islamic voting bloc into law by resurrecting blasphemy laws, but for one religion only. In so doing, it has formalized the Islamo-leftist pact now reshaping the country. This is incredibly serious. If you want to know the path on which we are headed and that we are bequeathing to our children, look at Lebanon, look at the Balkans, and above all, look at Iran. Do not say you were not warned. This week, Labour finally unveiled its new Islamophobia definition, which it rebranded as anti-Muslim hostility. This intentionally vague and confused piece of text will target prejudicial stereotyping of Muslims, treating them as a collective group defined by fixed and negative characteristics with the intention of encouraging hatred against them, irrespective of their actual opinions, beliefs, or actions as individuals. That's the quote. Is this about criticism of Muslims as a group or as individuals? It's really not clear. Nor does it make sense. Muslims are a group defined by their belief in the teachings of Islam, beliefs that many Britons reject and deem harmful and dangerous to our society. Are we free to say so? Nobody seems to know. Are we free to highlight the disproportionate rates of criminality within parts of the Muslim community, who now make up 18% of the prison population, despite being just 6% of the wider British population? Are we free to cite Home Office data showing that of the top 10 nationalities for those convicted of crimes, 8 are Islamic nationalities. Nobody knows. Are we free to highlight the extreme overrepresentation of Muslims in the child rape and torture gangs, which the Labour Party and the state covered up for decades? It's estimated over 100,000 young girls were abused. Many were tortured, some were kept in cages, some were killed by predominantly Pakistani Muslim gangs targeting predominantly underage white British children. Many survivor testimonies make quite clear that there were religious and racial motivations at play in multiple cases. It's the biggest hate crime and racist crime in British history.
Just going to pause it there for a minute, gents. The ambiguity of these new laws is very concerning, isn't it? And as Rafe rightly points out, we're not actually sure what this is going to mean, are we? Have you made any sense of any of this, John? John, can you hear me?
I think that's the big issue, isn't it? That none of us really know. I've read the definition of fake, and it's a bit concerning because literally us sitting having this conversation tonight potentially could be contravening a lot of the hostility. Are they rules? Are they regulations? Are they laws? No one really knows what constitutes a contravention of those rules, and that's what's the problem. If they defined it specifically, whilst you'd all not agree with it, you'd at least have a bit of a game plan as to what you could and couldn't say. Now we have no idea. It seems to come down to feelings and who takes offence and who might be offended, and
also who says it. Also, who says it as well.
Absolutely.
Right. So
it's very dangerous.
If someone the government doesn't like, if it's a voice that they don't appreciate, then obviously that's going to attract more attention and potentially a prosecution than just some random guy on X that they don't know who it is.
But I think so it's very important to note that this is not legally binding, that this is not a law. This is not within the law. This is an advisory, right? It's a non-statutory advisory. So it would not be upheld in court, but it is for the government to use it internally within all their public, departments and stuff like that, that will guide and help shape them their practices, which is going to be hostile to people who are against Islam, right? So that's what they're doing, but it has no legal bearing. So if they take anyone to court and if that person fights it, they will win against any of those things. So this is why I think it's a political ploy that they have done, because the Green party has been taking away their vote to please the Muslims, but it has no legal bearing, but it will make a lot of people's lives difficult.
But how long will it?
Literally within 24 hours, you had two of the Muslim MPs, independents, standing up in Parliament, and one of them asked, okay, so what sanctions are going to be placed on any MPs that say anything in Parliament that can be construed as anti-Muslim hostility? Now, you're allowed to have free speech in Parliament. You're allowed to say pretty much what you want, but they're already standing up demanding sanctions against MPs based on this. So they are going to try and push it further. So you're absolutely right. It's not legislative at the moment, but they will push to try and make it that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is where it's going to be that is actually the good thing, because that will reveal them more and more and more, and people can see them. And Labour should understand. They won't understand, obviously, because they're idiots, but they should understand that you're just giving them more and more rope. They're gonna want more. They're not just going to be pleased by this definition. They want it in law. They want it to be like, in the north that we heard, like those schools, they're not going to have any music or any art or anything that is whatever offensive to Muslims. So these are all advisories which those government people who are ideologically captured in that way, Marxists and communists and so on, they are going to use that to ramp up their attacks. It's an ammunition given by the communists to other communists to attack the conservatives.
And who's when it's when we say advisory, who are they advising? I mean, is that the courts? I mean, this is the question.
All the public institutions, local government, whatever, is going to be given to them, sort of a thing.
So it doesn't really have to be law for it to affect people. It doesn't have to be law at all. Let's carry on with Rafe.
Are we free to discuss this now? Nobody knows. The Labour Party's stalled inquiry into the grooming gangs has now been watered down. Under its terms of reference, it has deliberately refused to look into the role of race or religion in these sickening crimes and their cover-up.
So what is the point, guys? If they're not going to look at race or religion, what is the actual point? John, we'll go with you first. I mean, why are they deliberately missing out probably the two most vital aspects of the grooming gang issue, and they're deliberately leaving race and religion out of it? I mean, it's absolutely insane.
They're leaving it out of it because it's the smoking gun. Because I think they've identified this has taken place now in something like 55 or 60 cities and locations around the UK, and something like 75 to 80% of them are Labour-controlled councils, Labour-controlled constituencies, Labour-appointed police chiefs, etc., etc. And it has been covered up. It has been swept under the carpet. And if they go and examine all of these areas where it's taken place, and if specifically they examine the links to religion, to ethnicity, and to sort of demographics, then it's going to show that in many of those local councils and those local areas, who's in charge, who's running them, who's been elected. Like Momus mentioned earlier about the schools where they can't show certain artworks and they can't dance and they can't play music, etc., etc. The main one that has driven this is Kirklees Council. Kirklees Council is very heavily Islamic dominated on the council, and a lot of background has gone on there. That's where, do you remember the school teacher in Batley that was teaching at the class and got driven out of school? Now he's still in hiding 5 years later. Him and his entire family had to leave their local area and have never been able to go back. That was Kirklees Council. So they absolutely don't want to examine the religious side of it or the ethnicity side of it, because it all leads back to the same point every time.
Yeah, Momus, I mean, you got to say, you know, a cynic would say one of the reasons they don't want to discuss it is because it's going to implicate people closely involved with the Labour Party as well.
Yeah, and it will affect their votes. So everything that Labour does and has been doing for a very long time is all about their votes. It's all about the power. They want to be in power. It affects them, right? They don't care about throwing their own people under the bus if they have to. You know, if it wins them some votes, they're going to you know, put whoever they want to under the bus. But it's about losing votes. And just like Farage of Reform, they have also decided that they cannot, you know, leave out the Muslims, right? They cannot alienate the Muslim vote for the future. So they are building their, like, this is what they're taking care of. They're taking care of the number one, they're taking care of themselves. But just like it happened in Iran a long time ago, they'll find out, like, once you give more power to the Muslims, and you are finding it out right now anyways, like John was saying, like how they're asking in parliament about more and more, you'll find out, like, once you give them more, they want to take all of it. And this is what we're seeing within the Green Party as well. You know, what's happened in the Green Party, they're completely been taken over by Islamist. You know, it is so funny, like, and it's gonna happen all over. I think so. Their main concern is hiding what their complicity and trying to maintain their Muslim bloc votes. That's their main aim, right? And overall, they cannot give a win to the people in this country, because whether conservative or not, then they would, you know, their whole ideology will collapse, that everyone is the same, all the cultures are the same, everyone wants the same thing, and we should have open borders, and that all collapses when you start seeing the stark differences of people from certain countries. You know, their whole ideology collapses, so they can't, they are doubling down more and more on this, and this will be the undoing. This is probably what the public needs, and what the whole country needs anyways, completely undoing of this, and will cause chaos, but maybe it's a necessary short-term chaos that people need to see, because there's a lot of people who are not online, they still are not waking up to the realities of Islam. There's still people who keep on telling me online, like, oh no, but Islam means peace, but not all Muslims are like that. It's like, okay, tell that to the people who want to kill me because I left Islam. Like, you know, it's just people need to see it for themselves, right? Unfortunately, this proxy pain that we should be having of 40,000, 400, whatever, hundreds of thousands of girls for over 40 years being molested and abused and groomed is not enough. They have to go through this whole experience themselves to actually experience it, which is a shame.
Yeah. Let's carry on.
As Katie Lamb responded, quote, "In other words, the inquiry won't actually try to uncover why these crimes happened or why they were covered up." This follows on from Labour's chilling attempt to delete court archives recently, which only halted after public outrage. Protecting child rape gangs is now a key priority of the Labour Party and their supporters, or so it would seem. In London, a city formerly known as an English capital, the cover-up is still in full swing. Labour's Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, pretended to know nothing at all about any grooming gangs in London. But we are now learning London has many such rape gangs, and it's simply inconceivable that Khan knew nothing about them. In fact, he saw some of these documents. When will he be held to account for what he has done? A full public inquiry into London rape gangs alone needs to be commissioned, and Khan needs to be the first man on the stand. Our Muslim community have also been significantly overrepresented, to say the least, in deadly terror attacks. The 7/7 bombings, the 21/7 attempted bombing, the murder and beheading of Lee Rigby, the Westminster Bridge attack, the Manchester Arena bombing, the London Bridge attack, the Parsons Green bombing, the second London Bridge attack, the Streatham stabbings, the Manchester Synagogue attack, I could go on. These are just the successful ones too, because there have been countless failed plots. Islam is the single biggest driver of terror attacks in Britain. Approximately 1 in 100 Muslims in this country is on MI5's terror watch list, which is at least 43,000 people. According to the head of the Metropolitan Police's counter-terrorism unit, 90% of those people are Muslims. According to MI5 and others, 75% of current anti-terror investigations are dealing with Islamic terrorism. Are we free to discuss these facts? Nobody knows. Or take electoral fraud. Repeated claims that so-called community elders are harvesting postal votes to be delivered in return for political concessions, primarily to the Labour Party. Take a look also at the appalling case of Tower Hamlets Mayor Lutfur Rahman, or the more recent case of family voting in the Gorton and Denton by-election, a euphemism for electoral fraud. Nigel Farage pointed the finger at, quote, sectarian voting and cheating. Reform released a statement that they had, quote, reported the many cases of family voting to the Electoral Commission and the police. What was witnessed yesterday is deeply concerning and raises serious questions about the integrity of the democratic process in predominantly Muslim areas. Is Nigel Farage still free to say this? Am I? Are you? Nobody knows. What about violent Muslim gangs taking over our prisons? There have been now countless claims that many of our prisons are dominated by Muslim gangs. Just last year, former Tory Minister Robert Jenrick, now with Reform, said that, quote, Islamist gangs and violent prisoners in our jails are out of control. Are we still free to discuss this? What about honour killings, female genital mutilation, acid attacks, forced marriages, child marriages, cousin marriages? Are we free to discuss the significant overrepresentation of Muslims in these crimes and acts? Nobody knows. Yet despite all this, the Labour Party want to give Muslims a special legal protection from criticism. And they are only doing this for one reason, because they are losing control of their Muslim voting bloc to the Greens and to the sectarian Islamist MPs now sitting in Parliament, one of whom, Iqbal Mohammed, who has previously defended inbreeding in the House of Commons, stood up in Parliament demanding to know how this new law could be used to clamp down on the speech of British MPs. And it is no coincidence that Keir Starmer is rushing through this anti-Muslim hostility definition just weeks before the May election. So concerned is he about losing that Muslim vote. A Labour council has also issued guidance warning that children's drawings in schools could be considered blasphemous under Islamic law. This should terrify all parents. Remember, the Batley school teacher has been in hiding for years after showing pictures of Muhammad in class.
Here's the thing, guys. It should scare all parents. It should frighten all parents. But let's be honest, it won't. And that drives me absolutely mad, John.
You know what? I think it's, unfortunately, people are just not aware. I mean, we probably are all guilty of falling down the rabbit hole. We spend probably far too much time on social media. We're forever scrolling through X. We talk to like-minded people. And so the more you go into this, the more terrifying it becomes, because all those things that Rafe has just listed, and I've got others on a piece of paper here, there's so much of it going on. And to give credit to these sort of Islamic groups, they're very, very, very clever. They've infiltrated every area of politics, a lot of the sort of academic environment, a lot of the media, etc., and they do it very carefully and very cleverly. And most people are just not aware. Parents are not aware. And if you start to try and speak to them about it, people are still very afraid of being tarred with this racism brush, this Islamophobia brush, etc. And to my mind, we've got two grave dangers in this country. One is Islamism, and one is sort of digital IDs, digital currencies, state centralized control. They're the two big things that are going to finish us off. And we've got to fight back against both of them. But unfortunately, the vast majority of people don't even know what both of them are.
Yeah. Momus?
I think so. It's very interesting as well. Like even most Muslims don't know that they're doing the bidding of, of these people most of the time, because most of the Muslims, like so-called moderate Muslims, they don't really know the religion, so they just go by whatever anyone is saying. So it's a lot of people are very unaware of what's in the religion, and because it's so big, and because the campaign of Islam is a religion of peace, or is just another religion, has been so successful since the time of President Bush, that people believe that as gospel, right? And when you start talking to people, when I start talking to people, normal people who are unaware of those things in Islam, it just they start shutting down, because they know that I know what I'm talking about. That is the truth. It's in their religion. They can't compute with it. Look at what happened with the Epstein files, right? It's so big. There's so many people are, within it. You just can't comprehend, and people just start shutting down. It's only some people who go down the rabbit hole that are going to be interested. Other people they go on with their lives unless it starts affecting them. And if we want to see the recent effect of this in our political sort of field, is why did reform come in, right? People were never going to vote for some party like reform, but when their own pockets started getting affected, when people started paying too many bills and they start getting restricted in their daily lives, then they wanted to vote for a change, right? And obviously even then they're not voting for a proper change, because they're not really seeing what their policies are, what they're about. They're just doing a protest. Unfortunately, this is what happens. People do not see these things unless it personally affects them. That's the majority of the people. So I think so as well. Like people who are in the space as well have to come up with a new strategy of engaging those people, not with truth only, not with facts only, but with something more that will actually pull them over, right? For them to make them aware of these things, because we have to engage them. Otherwise, the only option that you don't have a peaceful option then. The only option then you have apart from that is a civil war. And you also have to remember, realize, like in civil wars, as you guys know, it's not the whole population that participates in it. It's usually like what in the American Civil War, less than 3% or so people were actually actively fighting, right? So you don't need the masses of people to actually do it. It's only small concentrated percentage, and the left has that, the Muslims have that, right? Like dedicated percentages of that. If we don't solve this through election, through peaceful means, this can go towards that, right? And in that circumstances, because the political right is so divided, I don't know if the result is going to be what we're looking for.
Yeah. Let me bring some guests in if they got some questions for the panel tonight. Julie, you're first. Good evening.
Hi, Paul. Hi, guys.
How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm cross with you, Paul. You made me cry.
Hey, Julie.
Boy.
Because of your speech to Kennedy yesterday. It was so lovely.
Oh, thank you.
Made me cry.
Oh, sorry, Julie.
It's a question for you, if you don't mind. I've got a friend who's a Muslim, and she said to me that she felt sort of threatened. She feels uncomfortable because of this speech thing that's going on and that. And I say, obviously I feel terrible for her, as you would. That's what a friend does. But I said, in some ways, I think that, like the British, the English have their self to blame for being too nice.
Yeah.
The Muslim people, like the decent Muslim people, the non-radicals, have themselves to blame in a way, because they're getting caught in the crossfire because they're not calling their extremists out. And like this £10,000 for mosques, to protect mosques, but only like £1,000, like 1K to protect British women, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I said, also, you should be calling your MPs out. Do you think I'm being a bit too harsh?
Was that question for me, did you say, Julie, or who was it for?
For Mumus.
For Momus.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I think so. You're not being harsh. I think so. You're not being harsh enough, maybe at times as well, because it's very hard for these moderate Muslims to actually speak up if they remain within their parallel communities, right? Not even just moderate, whatever Muslims, right? If they remain within their parallel communities, because to speak up means you are ostracized from your whole society, from your whole community, even when you're trying to make reasonable arguments, right? Look at that YouTuber Lubna. I think so, Candid with Lubna, whatever her channel is as well. What's happened to her? How she's shut down, right? When I wanted to speak, and it's even harder for a woman, right? Like for a man, it's still somewhat like reasonable to do it. Like when I did it when I was in Pakistan and stuff, I had to basically disconnect with myself with the whole community, right? Like, 'cause, I'm not in connection with any of them, right? So it's very hard for the moderate Muslims or any sort of Muslims to speak up, which is why it's damaging for us not to have pathways for them to leave Islam, first of all, or create these laws which are in favor of the radical people within the religion rather than the normal people, right? Because these laws hurt the normal people more than they hurt anyone else, right? Because then they can't speak up. How can they speak up? How can they side with the with the enemy, so to speak, in their own communities and stuff? So I don't think so you're being harsh enough. And I think so if you really I think so this is something that everyone should do. If you really care about those people, about those Muslim people, then you should tell them to inspect their own religion, to self-reflect and stuff, because they are damaging their own souls by following an ideology that is all corrupting. So if we care about those people, then we should tell them to tough love. We should show them some tough love.
So you don't think I was being unfair, but if they can't speak out because they're being ostracized from their own community, what's the way should they do? What's the way forward to them? Because they're sort of in an impossible situation in a way.
Yeah, that's the thing. They are in a very impossible situation, but it's you can't really tell each one of them, okay, you leave Islam, because it's not that easy, right? Like, so the thing would be to, when they actually go out to vote, then stop voting for parties that are supporting Islamists, right? Stop voting for parties like Green Party or Labour Party. Make a change, at least a silent change. They can be part of the silent majority if they want to be, sort of a thing, right? But that's something, to be honest, that is something for them to figure out, right? It's again one of the sort of a thing like the Iran thing. They have to figure that out themselves. It should not be incumbent upon the British people.
Exactly. They've had long enough, right? They've had long enough to suss this out for themselves now, haven't they?
Yeah, I didn't mean leave their religion. I meant, like, call your imams out if you think that something's not right in the mosque. if the MPs are in Parliament, then like saying, oh, well, we want this and that, then maybe don't vote for them.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they can't call the imams out because the imams are going by their actual religion, right? So they they can't call them out. That's the religion they follow, and the imams are just following it properly. The Islamists, we call Islamists and radicals, they are the ones who are actually following the proper Islam, right? The people in Al Qaeda, Taliban, those people, they are the ones who are actually following the proper Islam. So they theologically they can't really argue with them.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Very
when I
difficult
said
one.
that, I felt mean. I felt like a bad friend.
No, I think you are, Julie. All the best, yeah. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Take care. All the
guys.
best. Let's have a little look. We got Linford up next. Linford, good evening, brother. How you doing? Linford, can you hear us?
Hello, mate. Can you hear me, Paul?
Oh, I'm very good, Linford. Have you got a question for the panel? Hope you're well, mate.
Yeah, do you know what? I was just listening basically to everything that's being said. And one of the things I think really, and I feel really strongly about, is that I think that we have, and we should, put feet on the ground out in Iran. You know what? When we think about what all these Islamists have gone and done, you know, and the impact that they've had on our country and our women and our children, you know, I think that we have a right as a country to go out there, you know, and stand our ground and to do what's right and to help defeat these Islamists that must be defeated. What's your opinion on that, guys?
John, I'll let you go first on that one, mate.
I listen, I understand the feeling behind it, Linford. I understand where you're coming from, and from a, I suppose, from a purely moral point of view, I sort of agree, but I've got to look at it from a practical perspective, and I don't think we're going to be able to achieve very much. I don't think, other than losing an awful lot of our men without really gaining very much, I don't see that much is going to come from that. Our army is so weak now, our forces are so weak, our supplies in terms of ammunition and weapons and tanks and vehicles and everything else is so limited that we could only do that as a sort of a supplementary and backup force to the Yanks and to maybe the Israelis. Yeah. Do we really want to do that if we're not going to get much out of it? So I totally sympathise with where you're coming from, and I absolutely understand what you're saying on a moral perspective. But I'm very much a realist, and I don't want to see our men and women killed, throwing their lives away, unless we absolutely 100% know that we're going to win. And are we really going to cause that regime change? Are we really going to help to overthrow this regime anytime soon? Or are we just going to get drawn into another protracted 7-8 year Iraq-Afghan type situation? And that's what my concern would be.
Right, I hear you, but we ain't going to be going in alone. We're going to have numerous other countries with us, you know, and I don't feel that will be the case. Yes, in wars people die, you know, and I'm not saying that we won't lose people, but I don't feel that we'll lose the amount that people are worried that we will, because we're not going in alone.
Depends how under-equipped they are.
When you say you're not going in alone, realistically, you're only going to get the French and Germans and the Dutch and the Canadians and stuff. And they're not up for this. They're not going to provide people on the ground. It's only going to be, it would only end up being us, possibly some Aussies and the Americans and the Israelis. That would be it.
Yeah, and I think that'd be enough.
I'm not so sure.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it would be enough, personally, but I'm not keen on spilling our blood on foreign lands. I mean, the only thing I would say, Linford, is, you know, like I said earlier on in the show, you know, they have been sponsoring terrorism right across the world for many years now, and it's about time they were firmly put in their place. Momus, any views on that?
I would say, like, we don't have that many boots, like, to fight them anyways. But at the same time, just defeating them.
Sorry, and those boots might not even fit the soldiers they're given to with our government.
Yeah, that's true as well. I mean, we don't even have steel anymore. Like, we have to depend on China for the bullets. Why would China give us the bullets then? Like, so there's a lot of practical issues over there. Obviously, morally, like, it might be the right thing to do, but also morally, I don't agree it's the right thing to do, because Britain should have a responsibility to their own people first, right? Killing people in Iran or killing their regime is not going to stop terrorism. If you really want to stop terrorism, there's a lot, like, start with those 40,000 people, right? Start with all the terrorist cells and everything like that. Start with stop that flow of support that is coming from those countries, right? And that can be done without putting the boots on the ground.
Yeah.
So if we are really doing it, that's just an ideological thing that, okay, we're going to fight over there. Well, we put like for what 10 years or so in Afghanistan. How did that help? We had the whole of the West had enough soldiers to defeat Afghanistan 100 times over, but you can't do that. You're going into other people's territories. You know, you're gonna make them more extreme. They're gonna pull down more. They're more organized and stuff like that. Do they really want that as well? Their people have to. I just believe that their people have to have a revolution. None of these countries have benefited from that much from American intervention. Unless the people in those countries do it themselves, it's not going to happen, because fundamentally they're going to go back to their default setting. Then you do all of that, you leave them, they're going to start doing that again. We kill off all our soldiers, all our men, a lot of our men. We come back home over here. Then what you have all the Muslims. None of the Muslims are going to go fight the Iranian people. That's a danger.
No, I understand, and I hear where you're coming from with that. I totally do understand that. But you know what? With regards to what you just said, one of the words you said about the terrorism, there's always going to be terrorism in this world. Wherever it comes from, there's always going to be that. You know, and yes, okay, we defeat the Islamists. Then there's going to be a new group that come up. Then there's going to be another group that come up. There's always going to be that.
So why wouldn't you want to kill British soldiers in Iran then, if it's always going to be terrorism?
That's just the world we live in, sadly. You know, and also you said it earlier with regards to
killing our people.
Yeah, getting out of Islam. I don't think it's that difficult to leave Islam if you want to. I've got a couple of friends that have converted from Islam and are now Christian. It's not that difficult.
But as an ex-Muslim, it is very difficult, right? It's not that easy, especially when you're brought up in a religion all your life, right? And you are not in the Western country as well. When you are in countries like Pakistan or those areas. I was born in Kuwait. I lived in Pakistan for like 10 years or so. It's not that easy when everyone wants to kill you because you leave the religion, right? But morally, it wasn't the hardest thing to do, because morally, when you face it, you're like, okay, no, you have to leave the religion. But it's not that easy, because you lose all your family. Even your father, your brother, everyone of your family is instructed to kill you if you leave Islam. So it's not as easy as we make it out to be. It depends on every person's own situation, their family situation, how strict their own families are, how strict their extended families are. Then it's difficult for women compared to men, and so on and so on and so on. I want everyone, all of them, to actually leave Islam. I want them to accept Christianity, and this is why I want us to create pathways for them to be able to do it and have the protection, so that but it doesn't mean that it's easy. Nothing is easy when you have to make such a decision in your life.
And you're correct, because the one thing that has happened with them is that their families have disowned them. You're 100% correct with that. Yeah.
Linford, thank you so much, brother. Always good to see you on the chat there. Have a great weekend, mate. All the best to you. Let's have a quick word with Jack before we're going to bring in the excellent Raoul. Jack, good evening, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. Are you?
Good man, Jack. I'm all good. Have you got a question for either Momus or John or myself?
I have a question, and that is, how are we going to stop Islam, considering it's very difficult? Because if you look at it in terms of ethnicity, like by 2050 or maybe even before then, if we don't sort things out over the next few years, we're going to be a minority in our own country. I'm like, how do we fix it then? I'm like, it's getting complicated, isn't it?
Well, the latest projection is 2055. 2055, when we're going to be in the minority. So a pretty scary prospect, John.
It is. I mean, the demographics from all sorts of angles are absolutely terrifying. It's changing so quickly, but the low birth rate amongst the indigenous population compared to the high birth rate amongst people that have arrived in the last 10, 15 years, the growth of other religions, what I'm going to say now is probably going to drop me right in the cow poo. But I think the only way we do this is we have to take pretty radical measures to make this country somewhere that lots of other people from other nationalities and other religions simply don't want to come and live in. So if you're talking about Islam, for example, you're going to have to start to look at things like banning both halal and kosher slaughter completely. You're going to have to look at things like banning all face coverings, including religious face coverings. You've got to ban first cousin marriages. You've got to ban the call to prayer publicly. You've got to do all of these sorts of things. Now, loads of people are going to be in uproar about that and going to say, well, that's racist and you can't do that and you shouldn't do that. But unfortunately, sometimes you don't have a choice. And I think we've left it too long, we've been too lax, and we've got to a situation where rather than being able to have to try and make it an uncomfortable place for certain people to live. Now, hopefully that shouldn't impinge on the non-radicals and the non-truly devout, because there's loads and loads and loads of Muslim people that live in this country that to all extents and purposes are completely British, completely anglicized, and just want to go about their lives. And to be honest, probably wouldn't be too affected by a lot of those measures that I've just talked through. Hopefully that would only rule out the people that we don't really want here, the ones that are going to cause the problems. Trying to get that passed through Parliament, you're going to need a set of very strong politicians with ramrod backbones, and I don't really see that happening anytime soon, certainly not in the current Parliament. Are Reform going to do it if they win? I don't know. The only good thing is you're getting many more politicians starting to talk about it now, starting to openly talking about it. You're getting people like Katie Lamb, you're getting people like Nick Timothy, who are both Conservatives, funnily enough. Even Suella Braverman is starting to say some of these things. So it is becoming a topic that people are more willing to discuss. But it's very tricky, because in taking those measures, you're going to upset an awful lot of genuinely innocent people and decent people. But we've left it too late. We don't have a choice anymore.
Jack, all the best, mate. Thank you so much for coming on as usual. Raoul, good evening.
Good evening, guys. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Paul. John.
How are we doing, mate?
Not bad.
Another man that's backed by popular demand. Just before we go any further, can I say a very warm welcome back to Gaming with Yam Yam, who had a particularly bad week last week. Great to see you back in the chat. We've been asking about you over the last couple of streams, making sure you're all right. So great to see you back in. Raoul, good evening, mate.
Good evening. First off, God bless and get well, Yam Yam. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you to you. Let me just make this clear, guys. In the last election, we had just over 9 million votes for Labour. That is the population of London, close to that. So that says everything there. Around about 20 million people didn't vote. So if you want to know who's put us in this mess, look at yourself in the mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror while you don't take an interest in politics. Because as my father and mother said, you may not take an interest in politics, but it takes an interest in you. It will build them building blocks around you slow by slow, put the lid on you. You can't breathe, you can't move, you're done for. So please start doing research into who your local councillors are, who your MPs are, what their policies are, what their backgrounds are, because it's not difficult to do, guys, because you've got plenty of time. Sit on your mobile phones after work, watch Love Island and all that nonsense. So if you've got that half an hour, just do a bit of research, you know, once you've dealt with your families. So I hope that helps there. Because what it tells me of state of society, we haven't improved. And I agree with John, I agree with Mo, I agree with you. You've said it before as well, Paul. A lot of society is still stuck in this. If I'm okay, I live in leafy green area, it's all right where I am, I'm fine. I work in the office. The office is a good sort of thermometer of understanding what people are viewing and what they're saying. I'm still biting my lip and surrounded by people who are saying, I thought the lockdowns were great. You know, what's the problem here? You know, I don't see an issue. Well, when you start speaking to them, they live in leafy green areas, and I don't want to bring race in it, but I will. 99% white middle class folks. You know, I live in an area that's very mixed, you know, so that when the white working class people see struggle, it's because a lot of them are in mixed areas, and we get on, but we'll have pockets of problems. So what I'm trying to say is society isn't fixing up, and I think I don't think it will for a long time. You got to remember, when we talk in these digital platforms and so on. A lot of these people are still getting their information from the mainstream media, the BBC, the Sky News. They want that quick information. They don't have time to digest it, and so on. Let's just look at the Manchester Denton vote that we had. 20% of people didn't come and vote. What were you doing? What were you doing? You look at the last London mayor vote. Where was the rest? There was about 40% of people never came out to vote, and they worked it out. If that 40% came out, Khan wouldn't be in power. We are self-sabotaging ourselves, but we are quick to blame others when we are not self-reflecting. You remember on the last show, Paul, I spoke about what can we do ourselves, them little bits and bobs we can make a change in our areas and our families, our friends, spread that risk around, as the old phrase Douglas Murray would say. I was watching a clip from Samuel Leeds, who's the business property guy, and it was a fantastic clip. I'll tell you what change he made. There was a church in his local area in Warsaw. He brought it. And he said, no way is this changing into a mosque. No way is this turning into something else. He said, this is going to be rent-free. It's going to be a church in the name of Christ. And it's going to go back to that energy. It's going to feed people. It's going to house people. That's the sort of changes we make and make that community. So when people are hostile to us, we push back with things like that. We make areas. We turn areas a lot bigger into towns, villages, cities, etc. So these are the things we can make change into. Just touching on to the anti-Muslim / Islamophobia, it's so vague you don't really know what it's really going to be. This is there for two fronts. This is there to, there's an aspect where the Labour lot really don't give a damn about the Muslims. It's about covering their backside, because I'll be honest, Muslims are very tactical in how they vote, and they're very tactical and combative in remembering things. Look how historically 1400 years they remember the wars with the Jews. Do you think they're just going to switch off today and just remember, oh, Labour didn't back Gaza? No, Labour can push this through. But on the other switch end, the Muslim vote overall is going to be like, thanks for that, appreciate it, but we're going to still vote independently, or the Greens over here. So this is not going to work in favour for Labour at all. It's going to absolutely go against them. The concerns are not just the wider population between us and so on. Concerns are with other organisations. So, as you know, Paul, I keep on banging on about this. I'm a Sikh fella. There you go. So I do stay close to a lot of Sikh organisations who tackle the Muslim rape gangs. So the National Sikh Organisation have also raised their concerns about this, because they said their organisations are going to be hit hard the most, because they are constantly trying to protect young girls from all backgrounds who are being targeted by the Muslim rape gangs. And they believe the organizations that are set up will be led through the courts, will be prosecuted, and so on. Because it's like Mo and John said, what does this bill really mean? What does it actually mean? It's so vague in so many different ways. But I don't know what you guys think about that, but I do believe overall, I think society does need to wake up quick. I think John nailed it on the head. It's not one thing that's going to repair this. You've got so many different cultures coming in and growing, and religions are growing, and traditions and behavior and customs. You can't just say, well, let's just get rid of Islam and that's it. Well, how about this, and this over here? How do you deal with this? So over to you guys. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
I can't hear you.
We lost you, Paul.
Yeah, can't hear you,
Sorry,
Paul.
I was just going to bring in, stay there, Raoul. I'm just going to bring in Scott. I think his device might be disconnected, actually. Scott, if you wanted to come in, mate, you're going to have to connect your device. Momus, any comments on what Raoul had to say there?
I've been saying that for so long. And if this sort of thing that, if you inverse the thing that I was talking about Iran as well, right? Why do I want Iranians to do revolution from within? Because unless the people who are of that country revolt, no actual change happens, right? We can't expect on other people in Britain to actually bring change. The people of this country, the native people of this country, they have to take an interest in it. They have to come out and they have to bring the change, and not just change in political ways. They have to bring out change in their neighborhoods. They have to, parent their kids better, right? They have to look after, the elderly better, people around the area. They have to clean their streets and stuff. There's a reason why I'm a member of SDP, as Paul, because of these sort of principles and stuff that should be there. Nothing is going to happen unless the people of this country realize that they are in existential threat. They are in real existential threat, and only they can stand up to for their own interest and for their own rights, and to preserve that. Nobody else is going to do that, right? I even tell people, don't depend on me. Don't trust me. Trust your own people more than you would trust what I'm saying, because ultimately it's your country and you have to stand up for it. Nobody, if you don't give a shit about your culture, your heritage, your people, nobody else is going to do it, right? Nobody else is going to do it, because other people would be more than happy to be subversive and take over what you have built for them, right? So you have to stand up for your own stuff. So I am in complete agreement. People have to wake up. And you can't wait for everything to go down to shit before you wake up. You can't 100%. Wake up when there's a civil war.
100%. Let me read this out. Sharp bite. Thank you. 100,000 girls. Can we just let that sink in for a moment? That's Wembley Stadium and some, filled to capacity of young girls, all traumatized for life, fuming. Absolutely. Peter, school phoned me saying my 11-year-old is racist because she said she doesn't like black hair to one of them. This is getting bad. Momus, I'm going to let you read this one out.
Yeah, I read that before. I don't care. People are going to say what they want to say. Yeah.
There you go. Well, thank you anyway. There you go. Where are we? Let's have a look. Let's try and bring Scott in again. No, he's gone again. John, anything to add to what Raoul had to say there?
I think Raoul nailed one thing which is really important, and it comes down to one word, which is apathy. As he said, the Gorton and Denton by-election, I think the turnout was 48%, which means that 52% of people didn't vote. So the Greens, I think, won with 38%. So 38% of 47% is, my maths ain't brilliant, but it's about 20%. So they won the vote. So the Green/Islam Alliance won that constituency based on only 1 in every 5 people voting for them. And the people that are now going to, in 2 years' time or 3 years' time, be fed up with what's going on in their constituency are going to throw their hands up in horror. But they were the ones that didn't get off their asses and didn't go and get and vote. And it's very, very, very important that people start to take part in society, and the most basic way they can take part in that society and contribute to that society is to vote. I would be in favour of bringing in a law which makes voting compulsory. Now, on that voting sheet, I would allow people to spoil their vote if they want. They would be able to say, no, I don't want to vote for any of these charlatans, and just put a cross in a zero box.
They've got to get out. They've got to go to the voting booth, and they've got to make the effort.
Absolutely, because I think then you'd see very, very, very different results in the ballot box. I think you'd see very different results in elections.
Raoul, how would you feel about that compulsory voting? Would you go along with that?
I think so. Australia has something of that sort. I'm not sure. And if the percentage of spoil is more than the percentage of the candidate, then like you have to redo the elections or something. I'm not sure if it's Australia. I really do think it is Australia, though. I would be in favor of that. But I would rather that we don't have to bring in laws to wake up people. I would rather that there are less and less laws. I would rather that the people wake up themselves. That the people realize, because I've been saying it for so many years. I think so, as long as you know me, and from before as well, Paul, that people don't pay attention in local elections. They just don't come out. Average turnout is less than 30%. It's ridiculous. Those are the people that are affecting your local councils. Affect your life more than the national government can, right? But people don't engage in that. So if you're not going to engage in that, then you can't cry about like what's happening to the country then.
Yeah, a lot of Restore supporters are saying at the moment that all these people who are not voting will suddenly come out and vote for Restore. Now, I'd love to think that might be the case, but I tell you what, I don't think it is. I think they're just too goddamn disengaged.
Yeah,
I think
we
you've got.
have
I
to
think
wake
you've
them up
got a very.
somehow.
I think you've got a very large chunk of the population that are completely switched off from politics because they distrust and to a large extent loathe absolutely everyone to do with politics. And then you've got another, unfortunately, very large chunk of the population who are, whether it's lack of education, whether it's lack of interest, whether it's lack of them believing that it affects their lives, just don't care. They just don't pay any attention. They probably couldn't even tell you who the leaders of the main parties are. A surprising number of people probably couldn't tell you who Keir Starmer is. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but I bet you 10% of the population, if you showed them a picture of him, might not know who he is. And that's shocking.
Raoul and Momus, I want to ask you this question here from Best Black, who's a lovely lady. She says the only votes that should count are the British indigenous. How would you two guys feel about that one?
I have actually talked about this before, right? I don't think so. First of all, at the very least minimum, anyone who's not born over here should be able to stand in the elections, right? So that's as candidates, right? And even because by law you can't say, you can't go by checking people's DNA and stuff like that. You have to go by law what's citizenship, right? So this is the least of the lowest hanging fruit, at least, that should be grabbed, that you have to at least be born over here and at least be a citizen before being either voting or standing in elections, because so many local councillors that we have are not even born over here, right? They're born in somewhere else. They don't even have any familial connections from here or anything, and they're standing in elections. You see them, they're all in their religious garbs or whatever, and they're standing as mayor or whatever. So that needs to stop. The people who are from Commonwealth, they need to stop voting. The people from Ireland, whatever, that completely needs to stop, right? So I think so that would be a good idea, but I don't know how you get to it in law. While there's a government who will never act on it, while there's a prospect of a government that might come in and reform that will also not act on it. Don't forget that they have a lot of people who are standing in their local elections and in their who are not born over here, or who are not so we're not even going to get them from reform, right? So the lowest hanging fruit should be, at least to grab that, is that people who are not born aware should not stand in votes and should not vote for people in this Commonwealth and stuff go on. Maybe it can be a thing going forward, but how do you check how do you actually put that into law? I don't know.
Raoul, what do you think, my friend?
Well, in an idealistic world, I would want the white natives to be voting, but as society in today 2026 is all shaped, you need as many people on side as you can due to demographics and population. So I would say anyone that isn't born here, because it's crucial to be born here and to vote, because you are then naturalized by the environment and atmosphere and the history of the nation, regards to that. But it's like Mo said, that's going to be very difficult, because you will get, for example, the likes of Greens and Labour and Lib Dem who would want people who have been here for like 2 days to vote once they've got a citizenship, because it's just an added on vote to them. They don't care about, society overall. They care about power and position, pension, security. Look, they've just given themselves a pay rise not long ago, while the rest of us are suffering. So idealistically, my view is very similar to Mo's, which is that if you are born and naturalized here, you should only vote. Why? Because you are then you've taken in the pill of the environment, atmosphere, and the history of what this nation is. So you have a better education and understanding to what you're voting for, instead of, let's be honest, Mo, you'll understand this. When people come new to this country, you'll get enclaves of communities. It takes one guy to go in there, say, you're all voting this because he looks like you, he's got the same religion as you, he's got the same name as you, and they aimlessly, like sheep, would just go tick. It's as simple as that. So you need to remove that, and this is one of the ways to remove it. The problem is, it all comes down to implementing in it, but talking about it is a great fire starter. But can I just touch on something, guys, if you don't mind? The change of demographics and the new law going to be coming in is anti-Muslim law. For example, we're talking about banning halal, which I agree, and some people say we shouldn't ban kosher. No, I think to ban halal, you have to ban kosher, because you're going to get very unstuck when they say, oh, you're only banning this and you're not banning that. You are put into a corner very quick, because it clearly looks like you're targeting a group of people. No, what you're really doing is you're targeting an ideology and a cultural custom, not the human being. Because if you remove the human being from being a Muslim, look at Mo, beautiful gentleman, and there's many more out there. That's clearly the human being is not the problem. It's the ideology and the custom and the tradition it brings with you. So banning both is very important. But I'll give you an example. I don't know if you guys saw on Talk TV with the Sikh gentleman and his wife. His restaurant was targeted because he put as a sign, we don't proudly sell halal. Now as a Sikh, Sikhs are not allowed to eat halal or kosher or any religious slaughtered animal, because it's demonic, it's in a false god and a false scripture. So that is just a taste of things, guys, that can come into society as these people become more emboldened and don't get their way. So yeah, that's it really. Thank you.
Excellent, Rel, as always. I'm just looking through the chat there, guys. Busy night in the chat again tonight. Thank you so much, Gaming with Yam Yam. Lovely to see you back. Sadly, we have at least 30 years to go back to fix, which will take decades to do so. We will be at least 50 years behind, then start being great again. Yam Yam, lovely to see you back. Keep your chin up, my friend. Gents, another great show. We're an hour and 21 minutes in. I am an hour ahead of you guys, and I'm feeling the pace tonight. So, Ralph, thank you so much for coming in, brother. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Let's have a little look there. Oh, hold on a minute.
Thank you.
John's disappeared. Cheers, Ralph. All the best, mate. I think John's lost his internet connection, I think. Momus, pleasure having you on again, brother. Thank you for coming on. Great show. Really appreciate it, mate. Right, everyone, have a lovely weekend. Thank you so much, and we will see you all again soon. Take care.
See you guys.
Look after those beautiful children, as always.